It's starting. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. And my special co-host, Tanya, Bjork. I said that right, correctly?
Yes, yes.
I had to double check. And today we're going to be talking about Tsarina's legacy and her comic series, Havenhurst. And as I mentioned, Michelle's supposed to join us, so she might pop in some point during the podcast. If any of you have little ones, you know that when they decide to wake up and take all your attention and be cranky, that you have nothing to do but to actually take care of them. So here's hoping Benadryl will kick in for her. So anyways, we both have our wine. And I'll actually go ahead and start introducing Tanya with her comic, because I mentioned she did this comic book series, Havenhurst, right here, the first issue of it, which is very cool. And when I first met you, Tanya, you didn't tell me that you did comics.
Oh, well. I guess we didn't really get into our careers.
No, we didn't. We were, when we first met, both of our husbands are part of the Havenhurst Legion. And we were taking care of them, making sure that they didn't trip up all of the little kids at the OC Zoo. But I remember you talking about working from home, so I just assumed you were a graphic designer, or something along those lines. And then Kamikaze comes around, and Ryan, my husband, was like, Tanya's got a booth there. Sarah, she's got a booth there. She's an artist. We need to go check her out. And so we did. And we discovered the wonderful series of Havenhurst, which I'm only slightly obsessed with, I'm going to say, just slightly. And she also does wonderful artwork, too. This one I have yet to frame, but I figured I'd show it. The glare of my...
Oh, yeah. Belladonna.
Yeah. The Belladonna with the...
I quizzed my optometrist about that one. I was looking up anatomical drawings, and there's on the sides of the eyes, there's tissue, like the top and the bottom, which makes sense because you move your eye up, down, side to side. But there's actually a muscle that wraps around the eye.
Okay.
So I asked him about that, because it's like, I'm drawing these details, like, what is the function of that? And apparently our eyes can swivel in the sockets ever so slightly. So yeah, the human body's weird. It's amazing.
It is weird. And it's cool that you really put that detail into it. And I fell in love with that one simply because of, being a writer and being into reading books. I consider literature to be my belladonna to, make me hallucinate and think of other things.
Yeah,
so it's going to shortly go up on my wall, probably after Christmas, once we get things framed and whatnot. Because I've got some other artwork that's coming from Santa.
It's a great guy, that Santa.
Yes, he is. He's so good to me. Anyways, before we start talking more about your stuff, how about the Tsarina's legacy? What do you think about it so far?
It's really interesting. It's the jumping back and forth between the timelines. Like, I was kind of curious how that was going to work, but they tie in really well together, and just some of the common themes and the things that the characters have in common. Like, the thing that I really like as a common thing is the you belong in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these characters who have all this potential. They have something to offer, but they have this they kind of like tamp themselves down, like, remove themselves into the monastery or remove themselves in academia. But they have these people in their lives that are sort of like pushing them out, like, no, you have a gift, like, you have something to offer. And they have to be coaxed into it, but once they get there, it's just like something ignites in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool. And there's even just like little things like the ruby, and just all these little threads that tie everything together, and just like, history is a story, and the story is constantly being written. So it's really cool to see how all of that ties in together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And I love those little details because it's one of the things that really in history where the details really play a role in historical fiction. I currently need to drink more wine so I can speak more eloquently. The Ruby, I love that you talked about that because I love how, you have Grigori who he has that Ruby and he's playing with it. And then when it's Dimitri, I believe it is.
Yes.
He's playing with it too. And yeah, you have those characters and it's almost like it's almost genetic where he plays with it in his hand, Dimitri, where you have this characteristic that was Grigori's, and then now you have, a couple hundred years later, where you have his great nephew or whatever, who's doing the same thing, the same action. It's got to be,
yeah,
genetically.
So can you imagine carrying a ruby in your pocket to fiddle with?
Right? I mean, I really couldn't. I mean, as it is, it's hard enough to wear a diamond ring sometimes, without fear of losing it. But to actually carry that around in my pocket, God, I know how to lose it.
Yeah, or just having it on a plane, in front of people, just oh yeah, I've got this thing, just fiddling with it.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Sorry, I have my little demons, as we'll talk about in the comments before, are starting to cause problems. So I can totally relate to your characters, little critters.
Yeah, just always there.
Always there, always in this. I think Lilo seems to think that she's one of the co-hosts for the show. Because if I am up here in my seat in front of the computer, she gets all excited and she has to be up here. And when I don't let her up, she finds something to tear up and chew up and leave for me to actually pick up out of anger. So there's usually that. But yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up in this with the series that I meant to bring up before. Now, for you, how do you feel? Did you realize that this was the second book in it wasn't really a series, but the second book that you wrote in it?
If you hadn't have said that it was the second book, I wouldn't have known. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually really curious about how much I'm missing. It doesn't feel like I'm missing something reading this book. It seems very the narrative seems very self-contained. It's not oh, this is a sequel, and because I missed the first one, I can't follow what's happening. That's not an issue at all. I'm mostly curious, what the hell is the deal with Michael? I don't know if I like him. There's
I don't like him. For most of the first book, because in the first book, when you were saying about being pushed out of your little comfort zone of academia, that was really what a lot of it was about for Veronica. She was very much in her little comfort zone. She had her little routine in academia in her university, and then she got pushed out of it, and so essentially by Michael making the claim that he was the heir to the Romanov throne. And as the story went on, I liked him, and then I didn't like him, going back and forth because he really did manipulate her. And in this story, it's I like him, but he's got very much this attitude where the means justify the ends. He can do whatever he wants, say whatever he wants, manipulate her however he wants, as long as he keeps her safe. And I think that's for any person that's overstepping their boundaries. So what are your thoughts about, not sure if you like him or not?
He just seems kind of like a con man. I don't know how far back their history goes, because their families seem very intertwined, and it seems like his family has a history of a protective role for her family. But some of it seems like there's a little bit of grooming going on. I don't know if she's had any other sort of romantic history, so I'm reserving judgment, but the whole he he said that he made the claim for the throne to protect her, but like he didn't tell her.
Mm-hmm.
Seems it's like, how much does he really care about her if he can't be honest with her?
Exactly.
And the whole thing where like he shows up at the airport to protect her without letting her know ahead of time, without letting the Monarchy Society know ahead of time. It's just kind of like, I really question how much of this is out of his sense of duty to her, and how much is he just needs to be in the thick of it. He needs to be in control. I am glad at the point where, you know, this episode here is covering, he's kind of been told he needs to step back, and he's actually doing that. So we'll see.
Step back, he'll actually step back, even though they might last a chapter or two. He has a tendency to respect her boundaries when she enforces them.
Yeah.
But he makes her have to enforce them, though.
Which is what worries me. I'm feeling super, super protective of her. Yeah, so yeah, I'm reserving judgment. Like, it's not even, it's not halfway through the book, and obviously I'm missing a whole other one. So we'll see what she does.
Yeah, we'll have to see how she chooses, how things go down. Like in the first book, they have a little bit of a romance, so you're not really missing that much history. She meets him in that book, and as you see in this book, he made that claim for the throne, all in the guise of protecting her. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But that's one of the things I love about Jennifer's books. The second one was like that too, where you have these same roles, and you're questioning the characters. It's not all straightforward. With the romance thing, where all of a sudden he's got to protect her. And sorry, I'm hearing my own echoes.
Oh.
We have the alpha dance where he's trying to be that alpha, and there's that pushback, and I love seeing that with the novel, to see that pushback of that alpha ness, because there's so many of these books out there that have a romance in them, and it's straightforward. The alpha character and the beta character, and the girl just goes along with whatever the guy wants.
Yeah.
And there's So there's a couple other series that I've read that are like that, but anything like that, I think it's a little like, but yeah, I like how she's got a little bit of an edge here on this.
Yeah, which, if she's going to be the Tsarina, she's going to need to be able to push back. So I guess that's good. That's good training.
Exactly. So moving on, we'll go on to your lovely comic, Havenhurst. Here now, where did the idea from this come from? Now, you did this from what I understand, you did it for Inktober, right?
I did that. So the Havenhurst was a complete accident. It was not supposed to be a series. The fact that it even became a comic book at all is just kind of crazy. There is a day, 24-hour comic book day. It started as a dare, I think in the 80s. It was two comic book creators, and one of them said, I bet you can't finish a 24-page comic in 24 hours. Apparently, he had trouble making deadlines. The other guy took him up on it. And now it's an internationally celebrated event. Comic book shops all over host it. Our old local comic shop, the Comic Book in Manhattan Beach, hosts an amazing one. They actually they rent extra space. They move everything aside, set up tables, chairs. There's regular delivery of coffee and donuts and pizza. They do a sale from 2 to 4 in the morning just to get people in, so that the energy level, it's like that's when people start dragging. So they have this crazy sale. There's a line all the way to the back of the store the whole time. They turn up the music. They've got a quiet nap space. Sometimes they'll have food trucks show up in the middle of the night. Oh, I've got a cat readjusting the webcam cord. So it's excellent, and it's a great creative challenge. It's not supposed to be beautiful. It's, you know, you're doing 24 pages in 24 hours. So it's not going to be a masterpiece, but it's a challenge to see what you can do when your back is up against the wall and just finish a thing. Are you there? I think it might have frozen. I don't know if this is still recording, but technical difficulties, please stand by.